Hello everyone, welcome to UPSC Economics by Rohit Lal. So in today's video, we are going to understand the concept of social stock exchange as well as the concept of social impact funds. So while studying the basics of economics, we all study about stock exchanges such as BSE or NSE. However, the concept of social stock exchange is often overlooked. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to understand the concept of social stock exchange as well as we'll try and understand the concept of social impact fund because there was a Hindu news article in regards to it. So let's get started and understand what a social stock exchange actually is. So a social stock exchange is basically a platform which allows different entities such as business organizations as well as non-profit organizations to raise money from the public and use that money for creating different socio-economic impact. So for example, you could have for-profit organizations as well as non-profit organizations raising money from the public and using that money to solve the challenge of education, health or poverty alleviation. So this is what a social stock exchange at a very basic level is. So now if you talk about regulation of a social stock exchange, so a social stock exchange, like your regular stock exchange, is regulated by SEBI. Now social stock exchange operates as a segment within your regular stock exchange. So for example, you have NSE, double SE. So this is a social stock exchange platform within your national stock exchange. Similarly, you have BSE, double SE, which is the social stock exchange platform within the Bombay Stock Exchange. So now who all can use a social stock exchange to raise money from the public? So as we mentioned before, you could have not-for-profit organizations or you could even have for-profit organizations which can use the platform to raise money from the public. So when you talk about not-for-profit organizations, you have NGOs, you have trusts as well as you have societies. Now if you talk about for-profit organizations, the first thing is that if there is a question which comes in the examination that for-profit social enterprises can use the social stock exchange platform, so the inherent tendency would be to assume that for-profit organizations would not or may not be allowed. However, that is not the case. So a key learning is that even for-profit social enterprises can use a social platform to raise funds and create social impact. So an example of a for-profit social enterprise is Arvind Eye Care System. So it's a eye care system or it's an eye care facility in Tamil Nadu, and what it does is that it uses the money it gets from providing eye care services to wealthy patients to provide low cost treatment to not so wealthy patients. So it's subsidizing the cost of treatment for lower income households from the money it's getting from wealthier patients. So this is what Arvind Eye Care System does. Now if you talk about how do different entities raise money using the social stock exchange, so if you talk about non-profit organizations, they could raise money either via donations, grants or something which is called a zero coupon, zero principal bond. Now the concept of zero coupon, zero principal bond is again interesting because when you lend money to someone via a bond, you receive regular interest payments or something which is called a coupon payment, and once the term of the bond expires, you are also returned the principal amount. However, if someone is lending money via zero coupon, zero principal bonds, they do not receive any interest payments and they do not even get back the principal they have lent. What they actually get back is they get back a report which talks about the impact which is created from the funds which were borrowed by the non-profit entity. So these are the three ways in which non-profit organizations essentially raise money via a social stock exchange. Now, if you talk about for-profit organizations or for-profit entities, they could raise money via the social stock exchange by either issuing shares, or they could raise money by borrowing via different debt instruments such as bonds or could be debentures. So this was in broad the concept of social stock exchange. Now we're going to move on to the next concept, which is we're going to try and understand what is a social impact fund. So a social impact fund is firstly a type of a alternate investment fund. So what are alternate investment funds? So alternate investment funds are basically funds which collect money from investors and use that money to invest in different assets which are not your regular traditional assets such as shares. So an example of an alternate investment fund is a venture capitalist fund. So it uses the money it gets from investors to invest in different startups. Similarly, another example, as we just mentioned, is a social impact fund. So it's a type of an alternate investment fund which collects money from different investors. So they could be retail investors or institutions or high net worth individuals, and that money is pooled together, and then the fund manager of the social impact fund uses that money to invest in different entities such as non-profit organizations or for-profit organizations to create different types of social impact. So this is what a social impact fund is. Now the concept or the idea of social impact fund was in news because what SEBI has done is that it has reduced the minimum investment limit or the minimum investment which one can make in a social impact fund from 2 lakh rupees to 1000 rupees. Now that is a very significant drop in the minimum investment threshold. Now SEBI has done that because it wants to increase retail investor participation in social impact funds. So even regular investors can spend money or invest money to create a social impact. And additionally, the other benefit is that once investors start putting in more money because the threshold is lower, it's going to increase the liquidity or the money availability in the social stock exchange. So this is the concept of social impact fund, and we've just studied the concept of social stock exchange as well. So this is all we wanted to cover in today's video. Hope everything we've covered is clear. Do check out the channel and do subscribe to the channel in case you already haven't. Do check out the channel for other videos on current affairs as well as to understand the basics of economics. Thank you so much for watching.